Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon where I'll be talking about the movies, obviously the TV shows, merchandising, I don't know, whatever the case may be. So here we are, of course. And if it's related to Disney in any shape or form, of course I'll be talking about it. Alright, just to clear the air here, folks, I know that the Disney films for Star Wars have been getting a lot of controversy, but however, I feel about, let's say, Rogue One is completely irrelevant to the topic at hand. That's not what I'm trying to talk about, my own personal opinion on the subject matter. Even though I did review this film quite some time ago, I'm just throwing it out there. I actually reviewed all the Star Wars films, by the way, and whatnot, just so you know. And then, even though this film alone has already got a lot of trouble because of the Donald Trump supporters, but also the film the Han Solo movie also received some controversy for some stupid reason. And yes, I also did review this film a while ago. But anyway, that's besides the point because my opinion on this film isn't relevant to the topic at hand here. All I'm trying to point out is a lot of people out there seem to be really dismissive of these films for one reason or another, which of course doesn't seem really legit anyway. And then for the TV show, The Book of Boba Fett, again, my opinion on the show isn't really relevant to the overall discussion of the movie because what I have to personally feel about the show is not really connected to the topic at hand here. And it's fine if people like these movies. I'm not going to hate anybody for liking this show or the movies. Just throwing it out there. And especially, I have to say something in regards of the fact, again and again, how I feel about the Star Wars sequel trilogy is not relevant to the overall story. I know a lot of people will just only assume I'm just going to hate the going. I'm just hating the bandwagon just to trash talk these movies, and that kind of goes into what I'm trying to talk here because people just tend to spread misinformation about these films or shows just for their own personal bias. What I'm referring to is these individuals whom spoke about Star Wars before, and I covered this kind of thing before. So this is the second part to the other video I've been doing because apparently, according to these individuals, if you listen to non-Christian music, it means that you're depressed, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I don't see the connection. So if you don't see, so yes, they're acting as if Star Wars changed way too much, and this show is somehow evidence of that. And of course, nostalgia. Just going back in the memory of way back when. This is pretty much what I'm talking about here for the most part. Even though I feel like I'm repeating myself, and just that they want things to go back to the way they were, which yes can be problematic because you potentially stopping yourself from improving your own life, and in this case, a lot of the fan base of Star Wars has the same mindset. Oh, things were better back then. Things were better back then. I miss back in the day and all that jazz. And yes, of course, this obviously just sparks a debate where how Disney apparently ruined somebody's childhood, which has to be one of the most nonsensical things I've ever heard because the company isn't doing that. The company itself, of course, does have to involve Soul Shoot Star Wars. Otherwise, the entire franchise of Star Wars and the company as a whole will stagnate. And if that happens, then you people will still be complaining. So it's one of these situations, damn if you do, damn if you don't, when you think about it, because that's how this is really. If anything, it's just an unhealthy amount of nostalgia, like really unhealthy. Yes, a lot of the fan base is guilty of this. Star Wars is not the only one, of course. Obviously, I'm not saying this is just exclusively to Star Wars, because that would have been a really biased statement to say. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Remain this as unbiased as humanly possible because I'm just trying to be fair here. But that's the thing here. A lot of these individuals, a lot of the Christians want things to go back to the ways they were, like a whole 1950s kind of a thing, which of course is ridiculous because that's what a lot of these conservatives would want to talk about. Or hear something Christian related, it somehow means you're depressed. Like they don't have any other explanation other than that, like you hate life or something. Their arrogance and their ignorance are showing in this because they don't know how depression works. Yes, it's in somehow in regards of the TV show titled The Book of Boba Fett, true, but like this kind of mindset is what I'm referring to in regards of the show. So, in other words, they clearly don't know what they're talking about whatsoever. I'm just trying to speak in regard of this kind of thing here. That's all, really. Just again to clear the air here. That is all. So I've already uploaded the first part to this already. So just might as well just wrap it up here, folks. And again, as I said in my previous video, I just had to separate these two parts because it just went on and on and on about a whole lot of nothing really. It's literally a nothing sandwich. So if you want to watch the first video, it's mostly about music and the influence of music, the non-Christian music anyway. So again, I don't really see the connection here. It was a whole lot of nothing. But if you don't want to watch it anyway, just be my guest. So I just want to get to the meat and potatoes, so to speak, and that's what this video comes into play here. So with that being said, let's get into play, shall we? So here we go.
It's funny how nothing pointed to music, and I'm not saying that this isn't true, but think about something like TikTok. TikTok is the number one platform right now that young people enjoy. TikTok started as basically lip syncing lyrics.
Right.
And it's funny because TikTok is the car that Kristen was sitting in with the older sister switching the station. Right. You know, TikTok is the place where they're hearing the music and where they're kind of getting the ideas. And there's visuals to it. And they're like, maybe if I dress like this, maybe if I act like this, maybe if I do this. And again, it's not so we can all point to the evil and start saying Satan's in TikTok and, you know, and ban it and smash phones like Adam did his tapes.
And he's dancing probably.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of kind of...
Okay, what is this business about TikTok now? What does this have to do with Star Wars? Okay, to be fair, I've been already asking that question since the first video here. I still don't get it. But okay. And you sound old as shit. Oh, Christ almighty, I thought I was old. Okay, I mean, okay, sure, technically I am. I am over 100 years old here. So yes, I am old, but holy shit, you don't have to sound like it. Man, I personally don't care for TikTok. It's like whatever to me, I guess. To each their own, whatever. But, you know, I'm not going to dedicate a part of a podcast or a video just to shit on it. That doesn't make any sense. Point being, I'm completely and utterly indifferent towards TikTok. Just throwing that out there. Anyway.
Taking notice what these influences are. So I think the proactive steps I would tell parents to take is what we've all talked about here is having these conversations with our kids, talking about their feelings, noticing, Kristen said, noticing what kids are feeling a little bit. If you notice, you know, a lot of us, sometimes we let our kids slip up to their rooms and they have their private lives up in their bedrooms and they have their screens in their bedrooms all night long. It's not a good idea. It would be good for us. And here's where it's kind of a mix between bonding and boundaries here. On one hand, we should have the boundary that we don't have screens up in the bedroom. But on the other hand, we should be connecting with our kids. And I tell you, in the years of youth ministry, I remember kids that were in terrible home situations, but they would come.
What in the hell are you talking about, terrible home situations? How is this connected to TikTok exactly? Oh, Christ. See, this is what I'm talking about here. This. I don't see the relations between that and this here, folks. You could have a TikTok account and be have a good family or a bad family. Again, that's completely inconsequential into someone having a good or bad family or a mediocre family. Or kind of, sort of, I don't know, whatever. It just doesn't make any quite no sense at all. It doesn't quite add up to the topic at hand here. So I thought we were supposed to talk about music and Star Wars. Now we're talking about social media here? But okay.
And they would be part of something positive that we were doing. And we would hang out with them and talk with them and take them camping and hiking and doing all this stuff. And it was amazing how much that good, that saturation of truth influenced those dark moments they had where they were by themselves. And it even influenced what sources they were going to in those alone moments. And that's why I'm always such a big advocate of focus on saturating them with.
Okay, the consumption of social media should be moderate when it comes to really young kids, sure. That's fine. You shouldn't leave it up to the like YouTube or whatever else you can think of Twitter. I know it's called X now, but I'm not calling it that. Go to hell. But anyway, I mean, yes, it should be moderate, but what does any of that have to do with anything? Let me guess, it's not Christian enough? If it was, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be complaining, really. But anyway, can we just move on from this? I'm already bored. Christ.
The positive and the truth. But
So
yeah,
good.
no, as a parent, I would definitely yank devices out of the bedroom.
Man, this has just been such a terrific conversation, and I feel like there's more that we could say, but I think if you've been listening, you can see that music remains an incredibly important influence in the lives of our kids. Even as we spend a lot of time talking about newer technologies and new forms of entertainment, that music is going in. It's going in through TikTok. It's going in through...
So we're still on this, okay. If you don't listen to good Christian music, it's bad. Then it has to be Christian music to listen to. All day and every day, it has to be Christian music. Which, of course, sounds like you're a damn dictator when you think about it, but okay. Why can't it be just something else? Really, why can't it be just some other thing that we listen to instead? So why does it have to be this specifically in order to have a good, wholesome family? I know you're trying to get at it, the only way you can have a good, possible path in life if it's Christian music. That doesn't make any sense, but okay, proceed, I guess.
AirPods, and they're listening to things over and over and over again. And so regardless of where you're at or your kids are at in their musical journey, I think it behooves us as parents to be engaged, to be aware, to be setting boundaries, to be having conversations, and to be teaching our kids to pay attention to how music is influencing them emotionally and how they're using music maybe even to manage their emotions. So
See, that's the thing, though. How can you be going into this show without any really real knowledge of Star Wars? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, really, at all. But like that really matters to begin with because you people on this podcast, and just like a lot of other Christians have talked about before in my previous videos, are just going. It's so dumb. Anyway.
great stuff today, guys. Thank you for a terrific conversation about Christian music, secular music, and how music continues to be such a formative force in the life.
Christ, my this entire is just cringe. You clearly don't know what you're talking about. How can you be telling people that they don't have to know a whole lot of stuff about Star Wars, but then trying to explain yourself away that they should? I mean, yes, they should have some kind of knowledge of Star Wars. That is true, but again, you acting like you know a lot of this stuff here about Star Wars when in reality you really do not. It's just really cringe. You clearly don't have no idea of what you're referring to. You just bring a random moment of the franchise as if to make some kind of loose connection in this topic at hand here, which makes no sense when you actually think about it, but okay. Obviously, I don't expect them to know everything about everything. Clearly, I'm not saying that they would. They're always going to be, people will always be ignorant in something. Like maybe some people don't know how to fix a car, or maybe some people don't know how to paint, or maybe some people don't know how to fix a stove. And don't twist it around. I'm not trying to act as if I'm Mr. Know It All over here either. That's not the point of what I'm trying to get at. But I could at least acknowledge certain things I might not know of and whatnot, but give me a break here. This is just
Lives of
ridiculous.
kids today.
I am Boba Fett. Left for dead on the sands of Tatooine.
Well, it's time for our second segment, and we are going to be talking about a character close to my heart, personally. His name is Boba, and his last name is Fett. And if only when I was 7 I had the foresight to go to Target and buy the action figure that had the rocket that shot the missile, well, I wouldn't be here. I'd be retired.
That's exactly right.
Well, yes, there are, in fact, really obscure, rare Star Wars stories that were released from different companies back in the day. And if, yes, you kept it, and yeah, and it has to be complete, of course, with a box and everything, in mint condition, of course. You actually took care of it. Yes, it could actually be a lot of money now. That is true. Well, yeah, I will agree with you on that. But the thing is that this is still really, really stupid, concerning the fact that what you just said there has nothing, zilch, absolutely nothing to do with the actual soul, really. What are you talking about? What does this have to do with being a liberal? What does this have to do with being a Democrat? What does this have to do with being a centralist? What does this have to do with being a conservative Christian? What does anything have to do with anything? What does this have to do with a specific type of music? What does this have to do with being depressed? You just, again, like I was saying a moment ago, you're rambling on and on and on and on and on and on about nothing. Again, Christ almighty, this just makes you, all of you, incredibly mad ignorant, because this is your way of attempting to not admit that you don't know a lot of stuff, and it clearly shows you don't know a lot of stuff in the matters in which you will speak. Christ, why do I have to explain this? I thought we were supposed to be talking about the show. You haven't really spoken about the show. You spoke the character of Boba Fett, kinda. Even then, that's debatable. You mentioned his name, but that's about it. It doesn't go beyond the surface level when it comes to these characters. You're not really talking about anything. Matter of fact, I gotta say with the entire thing, nothing goes beyond the surface level. Christ almighty.
But I digress. Paul, the Book of Boba Fett, new on Disney Plus. Let's start not for the Star Wars super fans, but for those who may not know who Boba Fett is. Kristen, I'm looking right at you. Do you know who Boba Fett is?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a husband who makes me watch this stuff. Okay.
Okay. All right. Sounds like some counseling might be in order on that. Paul, what's the Book of Boba Fett about, and who is this Boba Fett guy? What do we need to know?
So Boba Fett is an infamous bounty hunter, or used to be an infamous
They're
bounty
always
hunter.
infamous, aren't
Yeah,
they?
very, very infamous. It was actually the best thing to come out of the Star Wars Christmas special. He sort of got his start there. You saw him in Empire Strikes Back. You saw him in Return of the Jedi. He was the guy who froze.
Okay, but I don't see what this has to do with the show exactly. I mean, yes, I do understand they're trying to give a brief roundup here in the events of Star Wars, what led up to the show and what you could watch in chronological order. Okay, that's fine. But even then, you don't go beyond the surface level. You're not bringing up any specific details in the grand scheme of things. Like, okay, so what? I mean, yes, you do need to say that you need to have this explanation before the show, even though earlier you're trying to explain for people who don't know it. Like, that seems like a contradiction, don't you think? You have to know specific things before you get into the show. Otherwise, it won't make no sense to you. Like, at all.
Han Solo and Carbonite.
Yeah, he's so mean.
He's just so mean. And then the last time we saw him in Return of the Jedi, he's in the middle of a Sarlacc stomach.
And what does that mean?
So a Sarlacc is this creature that lives on the planet of Tatooine, has this gaping maw of a mouth.
No one needs
I don't
this.
know how he
they do
feeds
need
himself.
it.
You
It's
know, because
incredibly
he can't-
important.
I
So
just don't
important.
understand how
Yeah.
these creatures can get fed enough.
Who
but
knows?
But anyway, the Sarlacc pit is right there. A bunch of bad people fall in during this climactic battle, including Boba Fett, and we are...
Wait, is this on The Mandalorian?
No.
Oh, man.
Oh,
there was
my
like this scene where a bunch of people fell into this weird, I don't know, cat dinosaur underneath the earth looking creature. I'm done. Sorry.
Oh, good lord, that was cringe. Cat, dinosaur, creature, thingamabob, doohickey, microwave under the sand. Christ almighty. Again, you know nothing about any of this stuff whatsoever. I don't know how you can be acting as if like you know a thing or two, but in reality you really don't. It's just nonsensical considering the fact that you just don't go on and on about nothing. What's the whole point of this conversation? It's just because of the fact that you're trying to act as if it's not Christian related, it's auto. This is dumb. This is dumb. This entire thing is dumb. Dumb, dumb, dumb. It's so dumb. Shut up, dumb, dumb.
I don't.
I love
really
that. We just
appreciate
let,
your participation.
We let her
That was
walk
good.
into that. We're like, finish the thought,
I'm
Kristen.
done.
We want to hear this ludicrousness.
Anyway,
Sorry.
theoretically, at the end of Return of the Jedi, we were supposed to. Boba Fett's fate was decided. He was going to die there,
And
being
digest for
digested
1,000
years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nerd off.
But no, but Boba Fett, he's a little more resilient than that.
That's
He wakes
right.
up in the Sarlacc pit. He crashes through the Sarlacc stomach, crawls out into the sand, and the show actually takes place in two different timelines. We see sort of right after he got out of the Sarlacc, where
Post Sarlacc.
we see him
Oh my
making
gosh.
friends
I
with.
didn't know this.
Yeah.
Well, you had
it's-
to retcon it because he was dead. So you can't do a show about a guy who's dead without explaining
So they
how
literally.
he
I'm literally just about to go outside and punch some random stranger in the face just because of what you said. Because it's not cringy. If you actually read the lore, like you guys claim you did, assuming you actually read the books and whatnot, he technically didn't die. He found a way to escape and whatnot. I mean, that's not really much of a spoiler because you wouldn't have a show otherwise. But he escaped. He escaped. He's not, technically, he isn't dead. Again, you'd think you would have known shit about this kind of a thing beforehand. So, again, how do you not know this? No, seriously, how do you not know anything about anything in regards to Star Wars?
came back to
continue
life.
the story from the pit of this thing's
Yeah,
stomach.
that's
literally
exactly
they
That
right.
is so awesome. I did not know that.
That
I
is
can't wait.
exactly right.
Now,
So
now I'm going to watch it.
Kristen is not impressed, but she's already seen it.
It's
he
making more
runs
sense.
into some Tusken Raiders, which are some people who live on Tatooine. We won't get to.
And they wear scary masks.
And then we jump into the future where we see that Boba Fett is actually ruling, to get a little more deep into the weeds, Jabba the Hutt's crime empire.
I know
Jabba the
who
Hutt
that
was
is.
the guy who Boba Fett was hired by to bring in Han Solo. Exactly.
you.
Very good, Jonathan. That was
Holy
great.
cow, I think you have another career ahead of you.
So somehow Boba Fett takes over this crime empire. We don't exactly know how yet, but he is definitely being pushed on all sides by people who want a piece of that empire.
well, and here's the thing that I think.
Again, you really don't know what you're talking about here. Of course, this is going to give detail on how this character went up the ranks, so to speak, I guess. But you're missing out a lot of detail. It's just trying to give more of his origin story to explain some things away, obviously. But again, like I was saying way earlier, this is just from a nostalgic point of view. You want things to go back to the way they were. And I guess to oversimplify the premise of the show is that it's pretty much villains fighting villains. Well, not even the bad guys, the bad people, don't get along. Kind of like how in real life you might have the KKK, you might have the Confederate, you might have the skinheads, you may have the Nazis, you may have like various groups of bad people fighting each other. It's the same thing in Star Wars. Not all the bad guys are in the same group. Obviously, just how in real life, not every bad group is in the same group. Those various bad groups I was saying a moment ago, giving a few examples, same thing goes with that. So it goes in quite a few different areas with that kind of thing. Bad guys wasn't bad guys. If I really want to overly simplify it, but it taking place in like a western town kind of a thing, I guess. And again, you just want things to go back the way they were, like how you have to use the VHS tape and whatnot and use the play. I mean, yes, okay, I will admit there was a certain charm to it. You just have to pick it up and you have to rewind it and all that stuff. And I'll admit, yes, there's a certain charm, there's a certain vibe that you give off when you have to do that kind of a thing. I will admit that. But does that mean I want to stick by this until the end of time? Absolutely no. I mean, this era of film is cool in its own way. I'll admit that. I liked it, sure. But that doesn't mean that the new Star Wars is bad. I mean, yes, newer isn't betterer, sure. But still, though, give me a break.
It's interesting. Boba Fett is an unalloyed black and white bad guy in the original Star Wars movies. There's no, like, is Boba Fett on the hero's journey on the path to redemption? No. He's the guy who froze Han Solo. Okay, he's the bad guy. He's got a raspy voice, and we're glad when he dies, except he's kind of cool. But other than that, but in this show, you get the sense that as he's marinating, there's that word again, in the Sarlacc's tummy, he sort of has maybe, this is my interpretation,
Yeah.
almost some sort of a salvific, not in the Jesus sense, but he has a come to his senses moment that maybe he's been a bad guy and maybe he wants to be a better guy. And one of the things
That's also kind of the problem here, because of the fact that you haven't really explained anything. I mean, yes, it's your interpretation, but the thing is that your interpretation is wrong. That's not what's going on in the confines of the story. You're intentionally misleading what this is all about. If something is not Christian related, if something is not strictly just about God and all that, it somehow means you're depressed. We still really haven't really spoken about that. We're not exploring nothing here exactly. You might have pointed out certain things about culture and whatnot, but it doesn't go deeper than a surface level, which I've already stated a moment ago. Just so what?
he says after he crawls out is,
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
and that's interesting.
It is interesting. I think you're probably, from my perspective,
Giving too much credit?
Might be giving too much credit. I do
Fair
think that the key is he was a bad guy, but he was so cool.
Now
so
he's
many
trying to be a
people
better
wanted
bad guy.
exactly. So I think this is sort of more of a retrofit.
Okay.
But who knows? Who knows how the
knows?
story might develop if it goes in the direction that you say it will? I think that would be a really encouraging turn.
Paul, from a plugged-in perspective, what kind of content can parents expect to find?
So if you're familiar with Mandalorian, which is another...
He was in The Mandalorian. And I remember him. Give me some credit. Sorry, go ahead.
Old dude.
Good
Old
job.
dude.
No, I know
Kristen.
exactly who he was.
Good job.
He shows up toward the end. You're right.
Yes.
Again, you still didn't explain anything whatsoever. I mean, yes, there's some content that shouldn't be shown to kids. Okay, that is true. But I still don't see the relations to Star Wars. You acting as if that Star Wars has become way more violent. Like, it's so gory. It's so somehow so bloody all of a sudden. Which of course is a complete lie. And you acting as if that the new Star Wars stuff is too violent or something. You acting as if the new Star Wars stuff is somehow extremely morbid. Like the show, the Book of Boba Fett, which you really didn't speak about, not all that much, not really when you think about it. But you think it's on par, like with the Saw movies, like that graphic, that twisted or whatever, or just any other horror thing you can think of. Like they're this spooky, this graphic and whatnot. Like what? That's not what's going on here whatsoever. That's not what's going on whatsoever. They're not more violent just because they're newer.
So, if you're familiar with the Mandalorian, as clearly Kristen is, you know kind of what to expect from the Book of Boba Fett. It has quite a bit of violence. It's a little bit gross in places. You know, the Sarlacc stomach is not the prettiest place to be.
You don't want to spend time there.
There is a touch of foul language that you might have to navigate. But
Okay, ultra soft. Touch of foul language. So what? Star Wars always had swear words. Oh no, they said no word. How dare you?
it's really of a piece of The Mandalorian. It's TV-14. It feels rougher than your typical Star Wars movie, but it's not, when you count up all the content, it's really not that much harsher than what you would find there.
So, no.
Asshole, dipshit, prick, son of a bitch. I'm gonna kick you in the nuts. Rim job. So now I'm going to hell just because of saying those words?
Seriously unpleasant surprises yet.
Not yet.
And as we review TV, that's always one of the caveats that we have to give is we don't know when things might take.
Dick riding scumbag. You bastard. Ah, bitch. Damn it all to hell. Ah, shit. So, okay. No swearing because swearing would somehow be disrespectful? What? Of course, don't swear around kids. Okay, sure. But still, though, what are you talking about? I still don't see the problem here. Okay, at least not with Star Wars anyway. Okay, so the Book of Boba Fett might get violent. It might have some swearing here and there. Okay, so what? Realistically speaking, that's gonna happen. Of course. So what? You're just trying to keep kids in shelter. They were too sheltered when you think about it, but okay, whatever.
A really wacky turn later in a show's run. But up to this point, that's where we're at. And I don't think that this show is going to like take a facepalm moment in terms of how parents respond to the content. Do you
No,
think,
I
Paul?
don't think so. When you're talking about the Star Wars universe, the gatekeepers for it want it to be pretty much status quo. They want it to be sort of this family-friendly property. With the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is also part of the Disney world, that can be a little bit squishier. It seems to be getting a little bit harsher as time goes on. But Star Wars has been pretty reliable.
All right. Well, hopefully that gives you everything you need to know, at least for the moment, with regard to...
The hell are you talking about? So you're just trying to act as if that there's something wrong here, clearly. But you still didn't really talk about the show, really. You're not really talking about the characters. I mean, you kind of did. The word is kind of. That's the key word. Kind of. You kind of did. But not really. But okay, you still haven't really given me what the plot is about. What's the conflict? The who, what, when, where, and why. You still haven't explained anything whatsoever once you think about it, really. But okay, just proceed. You talk about nothing when you think about it. Sure. But so what if they wanted to make it seem more quote unquote edgy, according to you people? So, like I said, you're just soft. You're so soft.
the book of Boba Fett. Thank you, Paul, for bringing us up to speed on, I think, pretty much the coolest armor in any science fiction show
No
ever.
doubt. I just want to hear Jonathan do his Jabba the Hutt laugh again.
Jonathan?
Sorry,
That's
you
not
only get a
it.
Jonathan
That's
laugh.
not
You only get a Jonathan laugh this time.
Okay. Well, now we come to a part of the show we like to call
Culture Countdown.
In this segment, we each have a pretty difficult task, and that is 30 seconds to talk about a pop culture story that has some kind of influence on families. It could be technology, it could be entertainment. We want to just bring you up to speed on something. But as Paul knows, especially trying to do something in 30 seconds is pretty difficult, and that is part of...
So again, they just want this to go back to the way it was. Because they're acting as if that the book of Boba Fett is somehow a reflection of the times that are changing. This is a subject matter I've spoken about multiple times. So yes, I'm getting really sick and tired of talking about this. So yes, the whole bit of nostalgia. They don't like the fact that the culture is changing. The fact that the culture isn't the way it was when they were younger, because it's somehow bad, whatever that means. But change can be a good thing. Change can be, of course, fine. They just want to go back to how it was when they were little kids, because they already care about their past, so they want to relive it. So, okay, for the rest of the podcast they had right here, folks, they just stopped talking about Star Wars, the book of Boba Fett, but then again, like they were really talking about it to begin with. But anyway, it's just that they just keep mentioning stuff like how in different articles were refer to how times are changing and how they could reflect on this because you have to keep the family safe. I don't know what that means exactly because just because times are changing, that doesn't in itself mean that your life is threatened. That doesn't mean your family is threatened. That doesn't mean your kids are threatened. It's just a coping mechanism, as if it wasn't obvious enough. Nostalgia. Yes, of course, this is a feeling that refers to those wonderful, sentimental feelings, this wonderment, so to speak, when you can recall specific moments of your past experience and just reflect on them because those was like some of the best times of your entire life, especially during your childhood and your teen years. And yes, stuff like this kind of mindfulness. Okay, I mean, you should have a perspective. That's fine. If you don't have a perspective on some things, that in itself does not necessarily have to be a bad thing. Because having keeping stuff in a perspective could actually help you out to deal with negative emotions, and that's fine. But of course, these individuals have gone off on the deep and well, they're not talking about nothing. It's ultimately like we were saying earlier, it's about nothing at the end of the day, really, because they're acting as if like Star Wars has gone too violent, Star Wars has become too gruesome. It's not optimistic anymore. I'm just thinking, excuse me, Star Wars was always violent. Go rewatch the old Star Wars films and have a reflection on that. I mean, yes, they admitted that Star Wars has gone violent, but according to them, Star Wars has become more violent than it was before, which in reality is a lie. That's a line right there because of the fact it hasn't changed that much in terms of violence. But again, it just goes into what I was saying. They just wanted to go back to the way war was because they're thinking that this is somehow a reflection on society. This is a reflection on culture. They keep hammering the idea how things have changed. The book of Boba Fett is somehow proof of this. The book of Boba Fett is somehow evidence on how things have changed over the years, which of course is not the case really when you think about it. And yes, your depression could be a link to just think about nostalgia. And yes, it varies from the person to person. Of course, I will acknowledge that it does vary from person to person. Of course, I'm not denying that. But yes, think about Star Wars is not it was as it used to be. It's not the same anymore and all that jazz. You keep thinking about this over and over. You keep thinking about your teen years, how your teen years was so fantastic, and how your childhood was so fantastic. That itself could be a sign of depression. You want things to go back to the way they were, and that's how these individuals keep keep doing that. They keep longing for the past, which which is something you clearly cannot reclaim, and because of that, it could it could basically make you fall into depression to this dissatisfaction with the present. Your present somehow is too miserable to be dealt with. Your present is too dark, is too complicated to be dealing with right now. Like your present is something is too harsh. You don't like the fact that it's vastly different compared to back then. Everything's too dark right now. As if that Star Wars was never violent is ridiculous. They just want this stuff just to be for kids. Kids, 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 kids. Gotta keep it for kids. And only for kids and just for kids. That's just wrong if you ask me, because this shouldn't be just delivered just for kids and whatnot. Everybody else, regardless of age, could enjoy it. There's politics involved. When you think about this politics, which a lot of kids will not understand, when you think about it, a lot of this stuff kids will not be able to comprehend. So again, there's a lot of questionable stuff when it comes to Star Wars anyway, because there's a lot of content there that may not be suitable, like whatsoever. So I don't understand as to why they're gonna be thinking about this. Like it's so just for kids. And not only that, there's lots of themes when you think about it when it comes to Star Wars. That might be maybe too dark anyway to begin with. They're not going to get it. They're not going to get a lot of this stuff anyway because of the fact that a lot of the specific themes of the overall franchise, they're not going to get it. And mind you, since everybody's putting the old films on a pedestal, let's look at Return of the Jedi. Yeah, did we all suddenly forget what Princess Leia was wearing? You know damn well the kids will start asking questions, and we all know why. Not only that, in the same movie we see that, and mind you, in the same film we see these alien type characters. Yeah, they were dancing, they were pretty much wearing these revealing outfits as well. Again, you think kids are not going to be asking questions? So this seems rather odd. And also, in the same scene, that alien character gets thrown in this pit where she's eaten alive. And you can hear her screams off screen. And that's not pretty brutal. That's not pretty violent. So did we just forget about this? Somehow? We keep glancing over a lot of stuff. I mean, okay, let's say yes, the Book of Boba Fett, they get violent here and there. Sure, that's fine. It's basically a Western type of thing. When you think about like those old Western movies, so to speak, it's just set in outer space and whatnot. But again, these individuals didn't explain anything. Not really, whatsoever. Like, okay, you didn't talk about the characters, not really. And this is pretty much supposed to focus on some characters, of course, and whatnot. And it's supposed to just have the title character, because he's like this kind of mercenary kind of thing that's attempt to make a name for himself in the galaxy, underworld, so to speak, by taking over the territory that was once ruled over by the Jabba the Hutt and the other characters, of course. So yeah, that gets in there. They explores that more deeper and how certain things led to him being, well, he's attempting to be the head honcho and whatnot, and how Boba Fett really wants to get into this kind of territory where he wants to be the head boss, like so to speak. And that's fine because that's kind of the whole idea here. He wants to get things from A to B. The bounty hunter Boba Fett, of course, and the other mercenary individual pretty much wants to navigate the underworld where they return to Tatooine to claim this turf, Jabba the Hutt's old turf and whatnot, and make his own thing with here, folks. I mean, yes, of course, obviously, this has to be something that fans are familiar with, like we are saying earlier. And yes, it has to be something that they have to comprehend in some ways so they can have some kind of understanding. But it's just this way to explore certain things when it comes to this kind of a thing, of course. And this could be leading to the idea that people actually like the Boba Fett more than they would expect, of course, after reading some mixed reviews about the show. But just give it a shot yourself, no pun intended. But yeah, I've seen the show myself, really. I mean, are there a few things that could have done better? Sure. But you could say that for almost everything when you think about it. But anyway, the thing is that moreover is just seems like you really didn't talk about the story. You didn't talk about that. Nothing really. Like Jabba the Hutt. What was the Hutt clan? You didn't talk about the Hutt clan. I mean, okay, the movies didn't really talk about the Hutt clan. So I'm just bringing this up since I brought Jabba the Hutt. Okay, he's part of a clan. Did the movies ever bring this up? No, the movies never brought this up whatsoever. So you're gonna have to really look that up and do some study for this kind of a thing. Of course, these individuals don't explain anything whatsoever. Okay, Jabba the Hutt. What was his whole backstory? Like, where did he come from and whatnot? The films never really explore that. Not really. Like, where was Jabba the Hutt? What was his whole role of the galaxy and whatnot? I mean, I know in the prequel trilogy they try to have some glances of Jabba the Hutt, but they even those don't get too much into it. Not really. But you have to go look in the books, the comics and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover when it comes to the show. So yes, it's gonna be problematic because there's a lot, and I do mean a lot to cover when it comes to this kind of a thing. Obviously. But ultimately, it just goes into the whole idea where these individuals just keep whining about the fact that, oh yeah, I want the good old days. The good old days, I want those to be back. I want this to return because it makes them feel all fuzzy, cozy, wozy, and whatnot. It makes them feel better way back and then how things were when they were small, when they were little kids, or even when they were teenagers. They feel like they were teenagers were filled with happiness and good luck and whatnot. And yes, I understand a lot of people do feel the same way. You don't necessarily have to be a Christian conservative to experience that kind of thing. Sure, I'm just saying. So, in other words, they want something that they can't have back. They know that the stuff is changing, video games is changing, TV shows are changing, movies are changing. Just pretty much everything is changing. They don't like that. They want things to back to the way they were. But of course, you can't have it like that whatsoever. You can't have it the way it was. Because the way it was might have worked for you, but it doesn't mean it's going to work forever, for everybody. I mean, yes, you could always consider that this nostalgia is a mental health condition at this point, I guess, because a lot of people are considering to go back to the past in one way or another. I mean, yes, like I was saying, yes, this is something that's not exclusive to Star Wars. It's not exclusive to Christians, which yes, I realize. Why is that? This is something that a lot of people have experienced. You don't necessarily have to be religious. You can be an atheist and experience that kind of thing. You can be a fan of whatever franchise. It doesn't matter if it's video games, TV shows, movie, whatever, comic books. It doesn't matter. You can be a fan of whatever franchise and still go through this kind of and miss the past, the past, the past, the past, the past, past. Okay, back in my day, I had to walk like 40 miles to school. That kind of attitude. Ugh. Which, of course, can be a pain in the ass when you think about it, because having this mindset doesn't help anyone. Like I was saying, this could actually potentially lead you to being depressed, because you can't retain something you don't have anymore. It's like driving away from your old house. Your old house is your old memories. Your old memories is there, and you're driving away. You keep looking back. You don't want to look forward. You don't want to look ahead for the brighter future. You're not even appreciating what's here and now. You're not appreciating the moment. It's a reason it's called the present, because it's a gift. You're not appreciating what's here and now. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to have these long-term plans. That's fine. Which, yes, you should have long-term plans and whatnot. That's fine. But just looking into the past and acting as if that was your golden years of your life is incredibly toxic. And you want to ever have everybody accept the same kind of attitude. I mean, yes, there's a lot of people that do have the same kind of thing, but it's not going to help everyone. Is what I'm going to say. Anyway, that'll be it, folks. Let me just wrap it up here, because I feel like I'm just rambling on this point. Which, okay, I kind of am. And yes, these movies are pretty violent. Even the Disney Stars films are violent. Because I'm going to do an entire video if I want to on The Last Jedi, more specifically the one fight scene with Kylo Ren and, of course, Rey. Yeah, that got pretty violent in its own little way. Personally speaking, I didn't mind it. It makes sense within the confines of the story and whatnot. So, I know they will complain about that too. I do realize that, because, oh no, it's so gruesome. It's too graphic. Well, it's just whatever. Just live in a bubble, pretty much. And they want other kids to live in the bubble as well. All right, folks, let me just stop here. Just, again, I feel like I'm rambling on here at this point. So, thanks for watching. So, I guess until next time, I reckon. I guess. Just this kind of stuff, I feel like I'm just repeating myself on repeat and over and over and over and over and over again. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. Just, yeah, whatever. Take care.